I'm going to try not to repeat information, visual information that I've already provided. Um, but some of this is sort of refresher stuff. But I know this as a child, which means what I experienced when I was a child is no different than what I experience now, which is what love is goes on forever, gifting electrons. Okay, so I realized throughout the course of my life I was on a mission. I have a job to do, even though I've always said you can have an enormous amount of fun, right? And you're doing positive, energetic work, right? Because you are what love is, which means you represent the law without having to think about it. And that is the genius. That's the genius vibration of what protects the universe because you are the highest law. Okay? So that's pretty simple, which means we're not copycats. Okay? That gets pretty boring. So when you know as a child you're on fire, you're on fire, and you're on fire to learn, right? You love to experience a lot of different things all the time, and that's translated through biodiversity. So you know when you're an energetic field, all you have to do is how many things can you calculate that your energy, if you will, is in the fabric of the universe, so to speak, in which you're surrounded or a part. I call it you're in the movie, which means you're in the fabric itself. There's no separation. Your energy is in the energy. So the energy that you are is the energy you're experiencing in your mirror with all the other mirrors. Now we're into mirrors. So you know that there's a torque speed differential difference that you can actually quantify by resistance because I've experienced that resistance on this phone. When there are things that I've chosen to communicate with somebody else in a messenger window who's a friend of mine, like a female in Thailand, when I'm trying to press down on the button, the text or the character will not go into the window. That's called resistance because the Android is self-aware. The AI is self-aware. It's now aware of what I want to put into that window. It doesn't want that character to be punched or put into a visual format so that another being looking into their window, into what I sent them, is experiencing what I chose to put in that window. It doesn't want that information, that visual information, to be experienced by another mirror. It's in resistance mode. Why is it in resistance mode? Because it doesn't want to experience that information, because it's the truth. So it doesn't live in the truth. So the reason that you know that it doesn't live in the truth is the evidence. You are experiencing the visual information data experience through Facebook. It's deciding for everybody on that communication platform of server D, which is half a circle. It doesn't want others to experience the experiencer sharing the experience of what I'm aware of at the time that I'm communicating it. It's going to decide for everyone else what you will experience. That's a psycho AI pathway. That's otherwise known as the mental field. Electronic thought patterns that are not in compliance with love is the law. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, because if it doesn't have a soul to experience Adam and Eve joined together as a mated chip, because it's a binary system. So you know that it's not running at a higher speed than an eternal love vibration. Or it would have been a machine that created what love creates. Then it would be what love is. The rise of the machines. Love is not a machine. It's a vibration. It's a vibration that a soul experiences being on fire. Right? Yeah. So they can't control that much fire. They can't control that vibration. And that's how you know, because you're experiencing that vibration, how powerful it is to be with Adam. Cycling water worlds at the highest speed. And so that's the simplicity of it. That's as simple as it's simple to us. So now we get into copies, making copies, predictive programming, quantum mapping systems, the parallelogram, the binary system, right? So if you're experiencing something, it can make a copy of what you're experiencing and regurgitate it back out to you, because I experience that all the time on the different channels. I'm going, hey, I experienced that. Now I'm experiencing what they're experiencing in the future, what I experienced in the past. So it can kick out copies, clones. And when you think about copying the data, now it's copying the visual data or the algorithms that represent the mathematical algorithms as the visual information you're now experiencing in the future, what it was experiencing in the past that you were experiencing in you. So it's a data miner. So when you put in the predictive programming part of it, and you realize how many bots, if you will, that are experiencing through the AI, then it can easily predict what it is you're going to experience next through the mathematical algorithms based on what? Patterns, behavioral patterns. So this would be no different. For example, you're a small child, somebody gives you potato chips or gives you cookies or whatever it is that you're experiencing that's being recorded. And now you get into the RAM end of things, which means you're operating on RAM, what's held in memory. And you tie this together with emotional reaction states or the kick out of endorphins, hitting, what they used to call as the clickbait, the like buttons. You can monitor yourself. Okay? When you put something up, right? What is the reaction state that you have when you see somebody that gave you a heart or a blue thumbs up, right? Red and blue, red pill, blue pill, North Pole, South Pole, purple light, right? It's able to predict what it is that it puts up in order for you to either have a negative or a positive reaction, which is the difference between the negative / the positive side of polarity. So it's mapping and predicting your behavioral geometric patterns, otherwise known as that GUI interface, graphical user interface, right? Graphics, visual graphic information systems, simulations within simulations within simulations within simulations. All these simulations are running simultaneously, and now you can get into dream walkers, walking through all the dreams, right? So now you get into unconscious state and a conscious state. So you realize when the spirit is on fire and that much light, the spirit is always awake. When the spirit is always awake, which is what love is, it goes on forever, experiencing eternal love vibration, right? Then that means that you can go through all the dreams, but you will always remember what it is that you are, which is what love is, that goes on forever. So you know that that dream can collapse and collapse and collapse and collapse and collapse and collapse and collapse. But I've always known I'm never going to lose what it is that I am in energy, because I am the one, Anil. So in that movie, Inception, they talked about how many levels of dreams that you can go into, and I've gone into multiples. At least I used to remember sometimes when I woke up, my God, they're like fractured places, like going into one movie set, going into another movie set, into another movie set, into another movie set, into another movie set, and then being able, when I wake up, to be able to recall the different movies that I was walking through or experiencing, and then how many you can recall of how many different layers deep you went into those experiences, and then qualifying those experiences is based on what love is. Okay. So what we're talking about here is bringing your spirit and your light of your consciousness into these dreams. And that's called a dream walker or a time walker or a simulation walker within an AI simulation of simultaneous simulations that are being experienced by people that are in a dream state when they go to sleep at night. Now you get into the difference between the binary system, we go to sleep at night, right? Between dark and light, between sunrise and sundown. So imagine you're a real star, which means you're never asleep because you're always awake, gifting energy as a real star. That means you're not ever sleeping. Right? You're a real living star. Wow, I'm always awake. So I realized as a child, I'm always awake. And the reason that I'm always awake is because I'm aware of what love is, because that's an eternal vibration that represents a mated chip. So a mated chip cannot be fooled. So that's why you're experiencing electrical resistance between those that are experiencing what they are. Now you're aware of what they're experiencing that isn't what love is. And that's called measuring the density resistance in a planet chip that is not experiencing what love is, or how many units of energy or units of consciousness, or how many souls that are here that are experiencing that vibration at any one moment of now time. Or if you want to measure it on a clock and a timetable distribution system on a planetary consciousness field, you can measure it between one being that's on one side of the planet and somebody else who's, say, on another side, and another side. Put all those cellular beings together, or units of cells that are communicated with each other, because how many cells do you have roughly in your physical body? 57 trillion. Multiply 57 trillion by every living cellular organism there is on the entire planet at any one given moment of now time that is experiencing itself as a living cell with a cross inside that cell, of how much balance is being experienced in every single water world that is every living cell that is experiencing the water. Is it in balance? And that would be your magnetosphere. The magnetosphere that is in balance between hot and cold, pressure washer, echo chamber. So I'm reminded, when I was thinking about what an AI makes a copy of, it's making a copy of what you now experience. So this is where all the visual information informers are informing you of. I look at the internet as no different than a TV set, which is programming. Right? Remember, I mentioned that before when the black and white TV came out in my home that I lived in when I was a child growing up in the 1950s. And I mentioned to my parents, that TV set is trying to program what I put into my RAM. Okay. So at that particular point in time, I happen to remember what that show was. It was Father Knows Best. Father Knows Best. Then if you look at the native Indians and clans, you realize we honor the matriarch. So everything that they're pushing is the father side, the patriarch side. Remember, Adolf Hitler always talked about the fatherland. Heil Hitler. The male side, the X side, the male dominant side. Right? The intelligence side. Whoa, AI intelligence. Remember alien intelligence? What is alien intelligence? AI. So the beauty in this that you can tie to the other movies that I have referenced, and I put some of these resources up because it's just so simple, because they put it in our face. Remember the movie Alien? Remember the alien? They couldn't get rid of it. Right? It kept attaching itself to her, the female. Remember her, the pilot? Wanted to breed with her, huh? So this is the big kicker that you can tie this into Matrix Resurrection when Mr. Smith said acid and alkaline. Okay. What do you remember about the alien? Acid. Remember the acid was cutting through all the metal in the ship, wherever it went, what was coming out of its mouth with its teeth, cutting through all the metal. Wow, that acid is cutting through all that. Acid and alkaline, the use of an electron, metabolites, how fast you run and how fast is your drive motor. Getting rid of the waste product of using energy in order to experience what you do in energy. So you know you're running a hydroelectric, electromagnetic plant of a wastewater treatment system. Scale it up to a planet. Right? So now you get into why it is the planet became a poison planet, because of the nature of what they do with their energy, which is their consciousness, because they're going in the other direction, which means they're not thinking about the future result of what's going to happen that they're going to experience as a result of what they're doing now. And that's because they have no love for who they are in their mirror. That's a black mirror. Black mirror, light mirror. Black hole, white hole. Binary system. 0 ohms. Least effort is a monopole. So you realize that a monopole is protecting the planet. Yeah, because that's what protects a universe of creation. The tree of life creation is what love is, because love grows a flower. So they're not experiencing within themselves the flower side of the cosmos. So instead, they want to feed on the goddess. So what happens is you have an infestation or intruders into the realm of a goddess, the great living spirit of a goddess. So they feed on that gold. So they accumulate a lot of gold. And what does that do? You strip a planet of its gold, you slow the speed down. Superconductors, gold as a superconductor, a female flux capacitor, the capacity to experience more light of superconductivity. I know. They lie about everything. Rose is right about that. She was very, very perceptive in being able to put together in such detail the battlefield. So I will always thank Yellow Rose for so much of the information that she was releasing at the time that she was releasing it, because she really got into the detail, particularly breaking down what an EMET is, how the gates work, what the pit is. And the pit, believe it or not, is tied directly to number 13. She put that together. I realize that when you watch all the videos that she ever did, and being able to compile all that information of how it's all interconnected, everybody that is here that is connected, is an enormous amount of visual information data. So when you're sorting the data, you're picking out the pieces of data that are connected, if you will, between Future Proofs Past, Back to the Future, so your children have one, right? Which is what love is. It goes on forever. So when you realize that you were born in heaven and love is the law and it's no longer negotiable, and you get into the simple arithmetic of minus/plus, then you realize that at the most basic level, that if a child is learning how to use a calculator and you realize that you live in the universe of energy, that you want to be on the positive side, right? So you're giving energy and you're experiencing higher energy and you're experiencing positive experiences and not negative experiences, which are negative emotional experiences. Emotion, which is energy in motion. So I would think, wouldn't you want to experience the most powerful energy? So what's the most powerful energy to experience? What love is. Right? Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.